Welcome back to my channel, friends. I love having you back here, and if you're new, I'm Stephanie and I'm a polyglot and a language enthusiast that currently speaks 8 languages and is learning a couple of others, and I use this channel to share language learning tips. Last week I did a video on listening and I had someone ask me what is my opinion on subtitles, what do I think about that, about subtitles, transcripts, and using those when listening. And I think that is a great question, so I decided to do a video on it because it is a thorny one and it involves a lot of aspects. So let's unpack those right now. So when it comes to subtitles, a lot of people will use them when they're watching a movie or a TV show or a video, a lot of times a video as well on YouTube. And then also there's the ability to use transcripts, for example, when you are listening to a podcast. So I think that when it comes to that, there's no right answer. It really depends on your attitude and on your mindset. I know that there's a lot of different opinions out there and people feel very strongly, and they're very strongly like pro or against subtitles, but I honestly cannot give that hard of an opinion and that strong of an opinion. It's like, okay, this is what I think, and that's always true in all cases. I am really in the middle and really like the worst answer ever. It depends. But I guess in this case it really does depend. So what does it depend on? Well, I think that when it comes to subtitles, it's really about how you use them. There's nothing wrong with them. It's not like they're the worst, they're going to control your language learning, they should be avoided at all costs. I don't believe that, but at the same time, I have many examples, including people in my family, including like lots of people that I know. People have watched foreign language movies with subtitles in their native language for ages and not picked up anything, right? So why is that? I don't necessarily think that it's wrong to watch with subtitles in your native language. For example, let's say you're a beginner. You might need to watch with some subtitles in your native language. Or let's say that you want to have both subtitles in the other language and in your native language, like a two-role thing, which can happen. For example, Language Tractor is a great extension that I've talked about in the past, in which you can have like those 2 rows of subtitles, one in the language in which the video is, another one in another language, be it your native or one you speak really well. Also, a lot of easy languages videos are like that. There's subtitles in the language of the video, and then there's subtitles in English. I love easy languages, you know that if you're a subscriber. So what does that mean, when you do that? I think it's much better to do 2 roles, to do both in the target language and the native language, as opposed to just in your native language. Of course, I think there's value to that, but should we get rid of just using subtitles in your native language altogether? There's many people that would argue that we should. I think it's more about how you use them. So if you're using them as crutches, and if your brain is being lazy in a way and you're not paying any attention, then it's a problem. I think that whenever people just watch foreign language movies for years and never pick up anything because they rely on subtitles, that's totally possible. It doesn't mean that the subtitles in your native language are the problem. It means that the problem is you're not paying enough attention to the language that's being spoken. That is where I think the big problem lies. So it doesn't mean that you should not look up, the subtitles on easy languages video if you use that as a resource, and you should at all costs avoid the English subtitles. No, it just means be conscious about it and have the right mindset. So what I mean is, you should still be paying attention to patterns. You should still have that ability to notice, right? That we've heard Steve Kaufman use this phrase, and we discussed it in our video together, and I love it as a phrase. And that ability to notice patterns, to notice new words, to notice grammar structures, etc. in a language, that is what makes comprehensible input so strong. And I really like this addition, you don't simply need comprehensible input, you also need to actually actively be paying attention to what you're watching. It should not be about leisure the way something you would watch in your native language would be. You should be actually putting in a bit of effort to actually pick up on that language, to train this ability to notice, to pick up patterns, etc. So what I mean here is that yes, subtitles in your native language, they're going to make input more comprehensible. But if you're not actually paying attention, and if you are not, in a way, having this active element of learning when you're watching a movie, a TV show, a video in a foreign language, then it's not going to work. So I think it's a lot about intentionality and doing the work and making sure that you're focused and that you're not treating this simply as leisure time. Yes, of course, it's a great way, it's a very pleasurable way to learn, but make sure that it's not simply you're being lazy and just reading the subtitles, because like that doesn't work. You know, look at your parents or like somebody else that you know that's been watching movies their whole life and not really picking up a language. What works is paying attention. So pay attention. It's really a mindset switch. It's not that big of a deal. It's about making sure that you are actually being engaged with the content. Engagement is huge. So subtitles in your native language, or two rows, one in the target, one in the native, they're not the devil. They require you to be a bit more conscious and a bit more careful about not becoming lazy and about paying attention to the input. I do think that as you get more advanced with the language, you know, as you hit the intermediate level perhaps and going onwards, you should ditch your native language subtitles. It's not a must, but it's a good idea. It's a bit more challenging. It makes your brain work a bit harder. Usually subtitles in target language are going to be more useful than in your native language, but as I said in the beginning, perhaps as a very, very beginner, you know, you kind of need subtitles in your native language as well. As you progress, you should be relying on those less and less, and perhaps you should have them on for the purposes of, like, if you encounter a word that you don't know, you kind of look it up in the subtitles on your native language, that's fine. But as you progress, you should be using that less and less. Perhaps ditch it all together and just use subtitles in your target language. Of course, at the end of the day, the goal is no subtitles at all, and you're just able to understand almost everything, if not everything. But before you get there, yeah, you can rely on subtitles in your target language. I think they're actually really, really good. Again, you should have the mindset of not relying on them too much, but of course you cannot rely on them that much. You cannot rely on them and like not have any learning the way you can. It can happen with native language subtitles. When they're in your target language, it's about, are you learning a little bit or are you learning a lot? But you'll always be learning when it's just subtitles in your target language. So yeah, if you want to practice listening comprehension better, maybe use that same mindset switch that I was talking about when I was discussing native language subtitles. You know, make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're not using them as crutches so that you develop listening comprehension, but they're not a bad aid, and they can be super useful because they engage two senses. You're reading and listening to that language at the same time, so that can be extremely useful. And at the end of the day, subtitles, to sum up, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's about yes versus no. There's no black and white here. I feel like subtitles are very much a gray area, and if I had to give you one piece of advice, that would be experiment, but most of all, do not be lazy, because it's so easy to be lazy when you're watching a movie, a TV show, a video, you name it, or when you're listening to a podcast and you have a transcript and maybe even a translation in front of you, same thing. It's really important to make sure that you're paying attention to the language, to the words themselves, to the patterns, to make sure that that ability to notice is turned on, and to make sure that you're not being complacent and using subtitles, especially native language ones, as crutches. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I also know that's a thorny topic and many people have very, very strong opinions on it. So feel free to share them in the comments. Of course, the community where we learn from each other. And let me know if you agree with me that there's personally no, black and white answer. Something that I wanted to also mention in this video is that some comments disappear for some reason. I've talked to YouTube support about this. Some are erroneously flagged as spam and there's nothing I can do to get them back. And then there's some that I don't know why they've disappeared yet and I've inquired about it. So please know that it's not me that's ignoring you. I always answer every comment. I even make videos based on some comments such as this one. So know that if I don't answer, it's probably your comment disappeared for some reason that I have no control over. That being said, I'll see you here next Wednesday. Please like and subscribe and turn the notification bell on so you can get notified when I have a new video, but also that really helps me as a creator and I appreciate any help I can get from you, my wonderful audience. Thank you once again and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.